How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's been a hot minute since we've had any FTC news. We are still waiting for the Court of Appeal regarding the FTC trying to overturn the whole ABK deal and trying to divest the ABK deal entirely by nullifying the deal. But it does seem that there has been a change and there has been an active development in the actual trial case, and that is courtesy of Games Frey. We do now know that the FTC's chief trial counsel, James Weingarten, who was the one that represented the FTC throughout the whole of the ABK trial, who, among other things, quizzed Xbox CEO Phil Spencer at last year's preliminary injunction hearing, has withdrawn as counsel from the FTC's in-house litigation over Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard. This is official. He has withdrawn, and if we see what he says here, his LinkedIn profile does not indicate that he has left or is leaving the FTC. This is pretty big, because if he was leaving the FTC, that would be a clear indication as to why he's withdrawing, but that is not the case here. He is withdrawing out of his own will. Well, either the FTC has decided that there are multiple reasons why they should, because it makes perfect sense, but as he says here, this withdrawal could be a sign of the FTC deprioritizing that case over an already consummated merger that doesn't raise any serious issues. Everyone's still waiting for the appeals court. Now, of course, what does this actually mean? What does this signify? Well, I agree here. At the end of the day, the actions we're seeing now of Microsoft clearly indicate and prove to everyone, including the Court of Appeals, including to the FTC, that withholding games is not in the status quo for what Microsoft is doing. Or is it? At the end of the day, all of this could just be a facade to put the wool over the FTC's eyes, and as soon as everything is done and dusted, and the FTC decides to go away entirely, I mean, they can then open up something else if they want to. It wouldn't matter at that point, because this official case will now close. But what Microsoft is doing by putting games like Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, Doom, and other games onto PlayStation, like Call of Duty, like the latest update to Diablo 4, without any difference to parity, they are proving to the FTC and to the Court of Appeal and to the CAT Tribunal that there is no, reason that this is anti-competitive. They are doing everything within the book. They have no intention of, using this as a gotcha moment to try and, pull consumers away or to be anti-competitive. So this is actually pretty big. But if you've made it this far, do consider leaving a like, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release, as we will be continuing to follow this case especially until its penultimate end. Now, the fact that James Weingarten has stepped down, to me, and I guess to Games Frey as well, is indicating that the FTC has now started to say, look, we don't really have a leg to stand on. We didn't before anyway. I mean, we tried to protect Sony as much as we could. We got called out for it by Jacqueline, the judge on, the render case. And, we didn't have a case to begin with. Now we've got even less. They are putting games on PlayStation. They're putting games on Switch. They're putting games on Stadia. They're putting games on the Ouya. At this point in time, what are we actually arguing for? What are we actually trying to protect here? The merger has already happened. The integration is already taking place. And honestly, part of the reason why we're not seeing some of these games like the back catalog dropping, in my opinion, is probably partially due to this case on its own. This is still lingering in the midst and could be a big problem for them. But I think the FTC now is realizing that this is no longer worth pursuing, no longer worth fighting for, and they've wasted enough taxpayers' money as it is. I just don't see any reason to continue with this. And as we're seeing here, the first smart thing anybody at the FTC has done with regards to the case, arguably yes. I think also, I think he also knows that they don't have a case. They don't. They literally don't. By Microsoft actually porting games over to PlayStation, like Doom Day and Date, that's crazy, right? This is a company that they paid almost, $7.5 billion for. And they're porting those games day and date. I know they said the legacy thing, but they also said a case by case thing. So that's always going to be up in the air, right? But in my opinion, a game like Doom should probably go everywhere. But this just diminishes the FTC's case even more. They were so fixated on Call of Duty when there are so many big titles that could, be held back from ZeniMax and ABK, like Doom, like the Fallout, like Elder Scrolls. There are just huge games here but the FTC focused solely on Call of Duty, which, as everyone now knows, is going to be multi-platform. Restricting Call of Duty to Xbox only would never make sense. You would lose so much money as a business. Financially, it just doesn't make any business sense. What you do is what they're doing now. You release it on everything, put a day one on Game Pass, and then if those people actually want to sign up to Game Pass to play Call of Duty via a subscription, that's going to get the next Call of Duty and all the bells and whistles, as part of that subscription every single year, then you can sign over to Xbox and continue playing there. That's the draw that Microsoft is hoping to have. But that's not being anti-competitive. Game Pass has been there. And though Sony has argued that by putting it onto their Game Pass service, it puts them at a disadvantage. Well, as Judge Jacqueline said, pay them the money and you can put it on your service as well, regardless. And, I remember at the time the FTC said, well, can they have it for free? And Jacqueline told James Weingarten to shut up and no, they can't have it for free. They have to pay for it, just like any other service. But as you can see here, COD is available to more consumers than ever before. All platforms are getting access to the beta, updates, and skin at the same time. Something that Sony, even to this day, is still doing disclosure, right? They are still releasing skins exclusive right now on Modern Warfare 3, and the FTC just doesn't care. They only care when Microsoft do it. So this adds even more. Like the amount of things mounting against the FTC at this point is mountainous. It's just not worth their time. And as he continues saying, more and more Xbox exclusives are coming to PlayStation, and the new Doom from Bethesda, like I was saying, is also coming to PlayStation day one. And there is the fact every other country has approved the acquisition. They really are losing all momentum here, and it is just wasting taxpayers' money. And I genuinely believe that the reason why they've decided to put Doom, I know they said it's a developer's choice, but the reason why Doom is going is to be the final nail in the FTC's defense coffin. That's it. I think this is a tactical ploy that they are using. Maybe he figured out that there is no point in this. The new COD and Doom will be released on PS5. There is no foreclosure, which was their main fear. At least for now, once the deal is closed, who knows what Phil will do. At the end of the day, the promise to not foreclose anything isn't indefinite. It is only for a set duration, maybe a year, maybe two. I mean, for Call of Duty, it is for the 10 years. But for everything else, it's fair game. They can do what they want. But they are showing goodwill to basically tell the courts, the regulators, the CAT Tribunal, the Court of Appeal, the FTC is full of crap. At the end of the day, we are showing that we are willing to play ball. We are willing to be fair and be competitive and not foreclose games. And you can see that by us putting one of the biggest titles out there, Doom, day and date on PlayStation. If it was PlayStation, do you think they would have done that for Xbox? Absolutely not. Which makes the continuation of this legislation battle utterly necessary. I mean, it's a rare FTC win. It must mean something if the leading lawyer in this case leaves it. I mean, to me, this is telling me that the FTC has now realized that there really is not much for them to rely on, not much for them to go on, and this should pretty much be the end of the actual situation, the end of the case. And I think once the Court of Appeal sees what's going on, they're going to throw the case out. And I think the FTC is finally going to take their tails behind their legs and just walk away and realize that this just isn't worth pursuing. That isn't to say once this case closes that Microsoft won't start, foreclosure of other games. They potentially could turn around and say, right, Fallout 5 exclusive to Xbox. The case is closed. We are done. The deal is done. See ya. Or they could turn around and say Elder Scrolls is closed, exclusive to Xbox. They can do that if they really want to. Right now, they can't announce that because of this case going on, and they have to be seen as being consumer-friendly, competitive, and not holding the content back. So, in that regard, I think the news of the James Weingarten, withdrawing himself is a big, big deal, and one that is pretty important, if you ask me, and will, I think, signify in the next few months the end of this case. Now, the real question now is, who is Microsoft buying next? And will the decisions that they are making now by putting their top titles onto other platforms, like PlayStation, like Switch, like Stadia, be enough for the regulators not to make as big of a deal as they did with ABK? Time will tell. But you let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed the video, found this useful, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. We are less than 90 subs away from my 7,000 goal. Let's make it happen. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.